Welcome back to the Marriage and Real Estate Podcast, and I am ready now. Let's go.
Welcome back. Good week so far. You?
Yeah, great week.
Awesome. I'm happy to see, good energy, good week.
You know, I can turn it on for the podcast. As soon as the podcast's over, I'm
This week, I thought we should talk about our goals that we set at the beginning of the year and then kind of getting back to reviewing them. So I wanted to talk about kind of how to go back in, reset our goals, how we didn't do that before, and now it's a part of our plan now. So what do you think about that?
Oh, cool.
So this morning I woke up and I was super energetic and on fire about goals. And I realized we've gone all the way into the second quarter, almost into the third, and we wanted to do a goal check-in. That was part of our goal list to make sure that we're checking in. So I wanted to see what that looked like for you, and then, when we could actually do it in conference and work on our goals.
Yeah, so we should probably put something on the calendar because transparency moment, I don't even know what my goals were. They're not sitting in front of me right now, and they don't obviously live in my memory bank. So, I mean, you have the memory of an elephant, so you probably can be like, yeah, your goal was this, and remember your goal was that and this. That's usually...
Actually, I don't. It's
Really?
funny. It was the conversation, or it was the thought process I was going through this morning that kind of made me realize, hey, we need to check in because there's so many things that have changed this year, and it's halfway through the year. It's like, do we still want the same things? Maybe we should look at those things and see. So this conversation, I wanted to talk about what you saw for the rest of the year and kind of what you want the rest of your year to look like. And I can speak on some of the goals that I thought for you, and then what kind of prompted this.
Yeah, and side note too, we probably, when we do our annual end of the year conference and plan for the new year, we probably should set those dates and make reservations, right? So
that's true.
Quarter one, make a reservation, and whether that be a staycation or if it's a out of towncation, you know what I mean? That we have those checkpoints and they're already scheduled and they're already
then we have to do it.
Yeah, we got childcare lined up, we have the hotel lined up, and we're just like, oh, this is the day that this is going to happen. So
that's really smart. That's a good idea.
Yeah, and I think that we probably should do that for the rest of this year, right? Like, what are the days that we're going to meet, and are they going to be in town or out of town, so we can make those reflections?
No, that makes sense. It's funny. So much has changed since the top of the year. When we set those, we've had people leave the team, join the team, and it's like a new fire, and it's like a reset of old things, and it's exciting. And it's funny because now things are revealing themselves that, otherwise weren't a part of our agenda, like the ranch thing kind of popping up. That was not necessarily a part of our year plan or any of that. So we almost have to look back at what we wanted the year to look like in order to fit all this stuff in and take some stuff out.
Here's what you guys will be privy to in this episode. So the reason we started this podcast was because just our dialogue like this, we thought, man, this is some really interesting stuff. Other people should hear it. Or when we would dialogue like this around other people, they would be like, oh man, that was really good. Thank y'all for sharing that or for saying that or talking about that. And so that's kind of what this episode is today, because this is not pre-planned.
Nope.
Like Kevin and I didn't write out and say, today on this episode, let's talk about this. We literally sat in these chairs. It happens all the time, much to production chagrin. We go, what are we talking about today? And in my opinion, good stuff comes out. And so in this episode, it's kind of like a quarterly check-in and how we're going to plan for the rest of our quarterly check-in. So from this episode, the one thing that we'll do to like today going forward, and then at our end of year meeting that we have, is actually schedule those dates. So we'll schedule the rest of the 2022. That's what we are. The next 2022.
We'll do second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter.
Is the second quarter over?
No, it's not. Not
okay.
till June.
Yeah. So, okay, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, and then in November when we'll plan out 2023's as well. Yeah.
Which technically our fourth quarter is our end of year, so we can just do that then.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, you make these goals, and if you go back to some of our beginning episodes, what we used to do was we always talk about planning, and we always have the conference between the two of us where we, go out of town. We are away from the kids, we're away from our businesses, and we're planning. But the first year, I think, or two, we would do that big plan, and then we wouldn't revisit it until the following year. Like, so what do we do? Which in hindsight is like silly, but also something that we did. And so then we were like, okay, we need to see what's happening on a quarterly basis. And also it changes. Yep. So just like you said, from January to now, things have changed, and even our vision and goals have been amended based on those changes. Yeah,
it's funny because as the year progresses, and it's easy to get caught up in the year, right? It's like, oh, you're just running. Mm-hmm. You don't think back to what you wanted the year to look like. But now that I'm looking at it, like your coach has changed. Mm-hmm. That wasn't necessarily something that we thought about. Staff changes. That wasn't necessarily something that we thought about. Mm-hmm. Even, the pivot to me doing business coaching or whatever, like all those things weren't a part of our goals, but they're new things that can be added to our goal list. And then we can take things away that we may not need anymore. Or, hey, I wanted to do this big office space. We decided not to do that. I want to do, all these other things that were part of our goals. So now it's like you see what you can also live without and pare down from so that you have more of what you want.
Yeah. I think that there's this big, you used to be really big on this. Like, once you set a plan, there was no changing that, right? And you've grown so much. I'm so excited about that. Because, man, things can definitely
change.
And they need to, and they should, right? And so not being stuck on, well, I said I was going to do this, there has to be that evaluation of, does this even still make sense, right?
Does it work? Yeah.
The more information you get, the more things change. And so I'm the person in the partnership that's like, let's find out more information so we can make a more informed decision. Kevin is a person in the partnership that's like, go, like he guns a-blazing. Yep. And I feel like both of those things are so important, because if you leave it up to me, we'll be stuck in analysis paralysis and we'll be discovering forever. And if we leave it up to you, well,
shoot first, athlete.
People dead, property damage. Kevin just out here shooting.
I'm just out here shooting.
But it's a perfect combination for us to get things done thoughtfully and thoroughly, because you're going to make sure that we get things done because you pulling triggers, and I'm going to make sure that it's thoughtful and thorough because I'm going to be the one to make sure that we get all the information as much as we can, obviously.
It's funny because you also get to see where you can tweak things and turn it up, right? So one of the things I was reviewing this morning with Nat on the phone was transactions in the Trello. And I see that you consistently doing like 3 transactions a month, which was one of our goals, right? It was to consistently do 3 transactions a month. I said, well, now that we hit that goal, let's turn it up. So let's move to 5 transactions a month, and let's see how we can push that up. Let's prospect, let's market, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like you see what you're doing well and pour gasoline on that. Yep. And you see what maybe you don't need anymore and you take it off the table so that it's not a distraction.
Yeah.
And it's funny because getting better feels good, and it doesn't feel good at first. Like when you're first changing and learning, and I'm definitely the rigid one. So I'm like, we said we're gonna plow through this brick wall, and you're like, no, we might not need to do that.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, not plowing through this brick wall feels good. If a word of advice can save you 1,000 hours. You know what I mean?
Look at you.
I know.
I made that.
You did.
Look, how have you made your spouse better? Because, man, I made my spouse into this very rigid and inflexible person.
But look at you. I made that.
You did.
You were sitting behind a desk somewhere, hating work.
Okay, let's be clear. Together.
Yeah.
The life we live is because of
you
us
made
together.
Me, I made you. We made each other.
Okay, you make sure I get stuff done.
That's why you ain't sitting at a desk. Okay, that's true. Never would have took the lead.
Not at all.
So there we go.
Not at all.
Now look at you.
And we leapt.
And look at me. Now we got to do it in fitness.
I know. Okay.
We got to be healthy. Notwithstanding the lunch I just had.
Yeah.
But I think I'm only going to do 1 meal a day for a while.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not going
to happen. Is that not a diet that works?
It is. It is. The 1 meal a day does work, but I just don't trust that you like food a lot.
Food a lot.
You like food a lot. You like food a lot. You're like, oh, well, I have to eat this because.
Look, my grandmother raised me. You got to have your
my God,
breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert. Dessert at every meal.
Having my kids asking, where's the dessert?
You gotta have dessert. You don't have anything
dessert.
For me?
You don't need any dessert. Meal. You just need to eat.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's not the way to do it.
Okay, not quite the way to do it. So tell us about some of the goals, your elephant memory. Tell us about your goals and how they have pivoted in the second quarter already.
So the biggest thing for me was, I think at the end of last year or middle of last year, we really focused our business down to 6 core areas. And what we found was by value engineering, even the 6, by good advice by people like yourself and other mentors in my life, what we found is, you know what, we should pare it down even more and just get real good at a few things.
Yep.
And it's funny because all of them are the same thing. It's just how you want to spend your time is based on profitability, not necessarily ability to do, right? So looking at what's
intermittent fasting.
Intermittent fasting. Thank you. I appreciate that, board. So looking at what is the most profitable type of project in our business. Read a great book called Profit First. Read another great book called Profit First for Contractors to help, and started coaching, or will start soon coaching, which I'm excited about. And that's something that wasn't on my agenda, but it's, super, super exciting because it makes our business even better. So I think what wasn't on my goal list is the refinement of the business, not the expansion of the business, very much the expansion of the business. Now what I want to do is more with less versus have more and do more just to do it.
Yep.
So that's my biggest takeaway.
I'm your modulator. I'm like, whoa, buddy, whoa.
You're like, hey.
Too much, too soon, too fast.
It's funny, even looking at your, originally we wanted to have this big team with you.
Yep.
And then really paring that down and getting really good with fewer people, having the right energy. I think energy is probably the biggest thing that wasn't on our goal list that we thought about after the fact, was like, people's energy can directly impact your business. So you want to have the right energy in your organization, the right energy going into different things. So I'm excited about that. We got great energy now.
We do.
And the whole office is buzzing.
Yep.
Motivating, very, very motivating.
Was that an admonishment to me about that energy? You're like,
no, it's not an admonishment to you. That was an admonishment to people with less energy.
Sure. Okay. Yes, I agree.
But we got bad energy out.
Bad energy? You want to call it bad energy? I'll just call it different energy.
Different energy out.
Different energy. It's not bad.
Got different energy out.
Yeah.
Now we got good energy in.
We have synergy.
Now
we have synergy.
Look at you.
I'm trying to think. I'm always flexible and malleable, and so when things work or don't work, I'm always looking to reevaluate, like what's working, what's not working, what can we do different if it's not working, and together, Kevin and I kind of make things happen and then there's that element of there needs to be some rigidity sometimes, right? Like there has to be, you got to stick to a plan because it's a plan. And so we kind of toggle between those two things between us, right? I'm always like, don't work, just start out, let's figure something else out. And you're like, we kind of set this plan. And so it's interesting to watch us dialogue between those two things. And we've gotten so much better about that. And I think this is a really good point to talk about, like how you interact and disagree with one another, right? So our being completely honest and transparent, we used to disagree with one another in an inefficient way. It was an argument, period.
Yeah, every time.
It was a fight.
Real gracefully.
It could be
knockout drag.
You're a knockout drag out person. I'm an acquiesce. I'd be like, whatever. I almost said the word that you ain't supposed to say. I almost said that word, whatever, my guy. Like, you can have it, but acquiescing is not always the best either. And so to be able to have discord within your business marriage, because that's exactly what this is. We're still married and we're in business, and how to effectively have that discord. I think we've grown through that. So if there's anything that I could admonish other couples that are working together like you and I do, and have to make decisions, and you're two different people. So you're going to have two different approaches to things, that one, be open to those different approaches, and two, like, not be offended by your partner because y'all both have the same goal.
You know, I think especially early in just how my natural brain is, I always get stuck on the plan. And what I'm realizing is it's not that you don't have a plan, but you focus on the path instead of the plan. Mm-hmm. If you're on the right path, which I very much feel like we're on the right path, the plan can mold, it can change, it can be pared down or built up because you're in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I think what we've gotten from other mentors and other coaches and things like that, as far as just confirmation, is that we're on the right path.
Yep.
Right. So what you'll find, and even in you guys invest in career or marriage or whatever, is a lot of times you get lost in the weeds, right? You can't see the forest for the trees. So you almost have to, what?
I like when you like generalize it and it really be you, you know, like, you know, you get lost and you do this and I get lost in the weeds. Do you get lost in the weeds?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want you to own it a little bit.
We all get.
Kevin, okay, here goes.
I'm trying to give advice to the people.
Okay, my bad.
Life.
I'm just saying, I'm listening to it.
I'm
like,
trying to make it relatable to the people that we're speaking to.
My bad, people.
Like, Lord,
related to the people.
We already talked about us. I know I get lost in the weeds.
Okay.
And if you're like me, you'd get lost in the weeds too.
Cool.
So not being able to see the forest for the trees, you can't necessarily receive information properly because you're so focused on what you think you want. And if you're open to being flexible in what you think you want, or realizing that with new information, it might change what you think you want, you have to allow yourself to grow.
Yeah.
And the whole course of our relationship, I mean, 8 years, it's been a journey in Kevin allowing himself at some point, which I didn't used to, but I had to grow into being able to allow myself to grow.
Yeah.
Right. Because I don't think you have a problem growing. It's just sticking to the growth on your part.
That's
right.
Flex.
Like you grow all day. It's just, are you going to be growing next week? Because you might forget about the growth.
Yeah, no, that's true.
So we each have our struggles and we each have our strong points. And the goal is, how do you literally marry that into something beautiful? And in business or in marriage or whatever, that's the journey. That's the path. Mm-hmm. And are you going forward? So for us, it's been an evolution in our business, in our marriage, in parenthood and whatever. You know, just to give a small example, when Austin was first born and you thought you were going to be the only one to feed her, I remember you were like, no, the book says that I need to bond with the baby. So for the first 6 months, I'm going to be the only one to feed her. I said, that's not a realistic thing. I've been a parent a long time. I know you need help. You got to feed the baby. Like, no. And that first time you go, oh yeah, that don't make sense. Now, the good thing about you is you're really malleable. So once you realize something don't work, you immediately change, right? It doesn't take all that fighting, but there is an initial step where you don't see it, and it's got to be explained and it's got to be warmed up. So what people just have to realize is, a lot of times the good advice might not come from your spouse. Even if they're saying it, you might not be able to hear it.
That need to be a whole episode, because I say this all the time.
It's true.
I say it all the time. Be grateful that your spouse receives the message, regardless of how they receive it. That's in marriage and business or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Because how many times have you told your spouse something or gave them advice and they either brush it off or they downplay it, and then somebody else says it. Somebody else, their friend, or they saw it on they said on a podcast that you could do.
I saw this on YouTube.
On the Marriage and Real Estate podcast, they said we should do blah, blah, blah. And then your wife be like, I already said that. You know what I'm saying? And it's not even like a smirk. It's more like upset. You upset that your partner didn't listen to you, but they listened to somebody outside of you. And honestly, I'm just grateful anytime you get the message. And in my prayer, I'm saying like, Lord, just let them get the message. I don't care how it come. If it come through a stork, please send the message, Lord. Whoever it is.
Stork, though? We ain't having no babies.
It was just the first thing that came to my mind. So anyway, be grateful that your partner gets the message and be less frustrated by the fact that they didn't listen to you. Just ask that the message comes to them.
Well, what I will say, and just to wrap us up, what I'm grateful for is a spouse that keeps talking, right? Even when I'm hard of listening sometimes, and a spouse who follows the path. Even when the plan can change a little bit, and even when, she sees that the plan needs to change, you're gentle in how you mold me. So I'm appreciative for that, and I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful for change. I'm grateful to reset our goals for 2022 and get all the good that comes from all the new information and pivot through everything that looked good on paper and might not have been good for us in reality. So with that being said, I hope you guys are out there resetting your goals for 2022. We got some marriage and real estate stuff coming that are part of our goals. So you guys be on the lookout for that. Like, subscribe, smash that like button.
Wow.
I got to learn to say it. This is part of my channel. I got to do it.
Okay.
And follow us on all the socials. I'm going to keep saying this so y'all get used to it.
Okay.
And this is Kevin and Aisha. We out.